Hey y'all, I'm Tim, and welcome to the Mr. Maple Show.
Howdy, I'm Matt. Today we're going to talk about some great plants that can be found here natively in our southern landscape. We get asked a lot of times about native plants, and we've gotten excited to offer some really unique and exciting ones for you here at Mr. Maple. We're going to be talking about native azaleas here today, specifically ones named by Earl Somerville.
Yeah, Earl Somerville has some amazing selections. He was a pioneer, and he loves native azaleas. He's worked with so many nurseries and introducing a lot of his selections into the nursery trade. The great thing about growing native selections is everything you love about a native plant, but then you get the best form of it that's been found out there in the wild.
Yeah, I've heard people call these nativars, cultivars of natives. We like the unusual stuff, so if we're going to offer a native, we want something exciting, and these fit the bill for that completely. They're native plants, but they're one that any plant geek that likes the exotic can get excited about. They're a plant that we're excited to offer here. They're pretty rare to see in cultivation to begin with, but we're excited to offer a lot of these natives here for you at Mr. Maple. And we gave you a video on evergreen azaleas, so we're coming back here with some of the deciduous, fragrant, native azaleas, great pollinators. I think these are going to be plants you're going to want to add to your garden.
We have so many azaleas on our website. Check out our full listing on MrMaple.com. Right now we're listing over 100 different varieties of azaleas on Mr. Maple. Many of those being deciduous and then some of them being evergreen. The ones we're talking about today are all selections by Earl Somerville. Most of these were selections made in the southeastern United States, but they can perform and do well all across the country. These are native selections. So native plants are amazing because they're good for pollinators, they're good for bees. They're one of those things that hummingbirds will just flock to. And they just give that essence of the mountains. And they go so well with Japanese maples. I mean, this gives you that ever-changing season thing that people love with Japanese maples, but here with something that blooms and gives that mountainous feel.
I was going to say, I love natives, and I love everything you just said, but more than anything, they just look cool. So for me, it's got to look cool. Like, all that sounds great, but I'm like, at the end of the day, am I going to get fired up about this in the garden? And I think all these are selections you definitely can be. So be definitely looking for our Fun Flower Fridays. We do over 150 different varieties of azaleas, and a great number of those are natives. So you're going to enjoy that. If you like this kind of content, we may do another part 2. We may talk about some different hybridizers and some of their selections as well. But today, all Earl Somerville selections.
Yeah, and all azaleas are rhododendrons. Not all rhododendrons are azaleas. I wanted to make sure I say everything correctly after I messed up on one of the last videos. But these are all some amazing selections. You'll notice the deciduous azaleas are very unique in the fact that they have these large trusses with much smaller blooms. Well, sometimes smaller blooms in that truss. So they make these sort of ball shapes. That give something a little bit different and very unique.
Now these are native all along the East Coast, but a lot of these selections specifically were found in the South. So these are some great plants for the South, some really fun ones. And I like that the native azaleas have a sweet smell to them as well. So you kind of get that soft, sweet smell. They're just starting to leaf out here in April, starting to bloom out, I should say. So just starting to get into bloom. Some of these are a little early for full bloom, but we wanted to get them on camera and kind of talk a little bit about them because it's something new we're doing here at Mr. Maple, and we're really fired up about it. We're really excited to offer these. The first one we'll get into here is the Azalea Lemon Lush. Now again, this is another Earl Somerville azalea. It's got some amazing yellows to it, as you can see, obviously, but some great smells and just a really elegant appearance overall. I really like how those tufts have that real compact, dense fullness to them.
And I like the fact that this is really just that light yellow, that really lemon yellow. That Lemon Lush is the perfect name for it because it just gives such a stark contrast with some of the other varieties because of how light yellow it is. It's just that creamy yellow that just adds something extra, just being that super light form.
Yeah, now this is a smaller form, 4 foot and 10 years. Excellent for the landscape. You definitely want some good drainage. They're going to grow in similar conditions to your Japanese maples. These don't want boggy or wet feet. So you want to make sure with all of your azaleas that they have good drainage on the soil, but an excellent plant to be growing and definitely a fun one to be adding. You know, if you can add a native plant that's got that excitement to it, I say that's a win-win. So some great plants. That Lemon Lush, to correct myself, I said 4 foot and 10 years. What I meant is 4 foot by 6 foot by 4 foot wide in 10 years. So 6 foot in height, 4 foot in width. Great smaller overall plant, but on that more 6 foot side range, excellent plant to be adding to your landscape.
I see this just out there in the landscape with a red lace leaf right beside of it or a red upright, just giving some stark contrast out there in the spring garden.
Yeah.
I mean, you can just imagine just a hillside full of native azaleas and Japanese maples that will just knock your socks off.
Moving on to our next native azalea on the table, we have the Azalea Jake's Red. Now this is an excellent color palette. It's also a little bit more compact than the others. This one is going to be more in that 4-foot range, even in 10 years, so a little smaller. Excellent bloom color. I'm not quite sure what to call the bloom color. We were just discussing it.
It is a shade of red.
It definitely has some red in there. It's almost some apricot, like it's got a lot of colors going on. It's darker than all the other, some of the other natives for sure.
I think Brian described it as like a peachy red.
Yeah.
It's very unique, very different. Comment in the comment section below if you have any way you think we can help describe this better.
We'll have to get a shot of this in here too. I love this unfurling, almost like
the
fiery
trusses
purples.
outside the
Yeah.
blooms. Yeah.
Oh man, love that.
And this is a great Oconee native azalea selection. And so rhododendron flammeum is the species. This is a great selection of that. I'm not exactly sure who Jake is, but he did a great job selecting this plant because this is such a unique selection of an Oconee azalea with that peachy red color that, I mean, I don't know exactly how to describe it, but the bloom is just so beautiful.
So I like that we've got some different forms of these going on too. This being a more compact form, it's going to give you something a little different there in the landscape, especially for a native azalea. Love its small, dense habit. Again, great for the pollinator. We're going to say that for everything. And great smells on this one too. It's got that slight sweet smell that's familiar with the native azalea. It's a great smell to it, but it's going to give you that sweet essence of that early spring garden for sure, and definitely a plant you're going to want to be adding.
Now, one I really like is the Rising Sun, or Rising Sun Azalea. This is one I love because it has that yellow color with oranges in it. And so you get yellows and oranges in the bloom, and this gives it something unique and different. Really contrasts and gives a stark contrast from the Lemon Lush. That's the light yellow.
Yeah.
When you get the yellows and the orange you get with Rising Sun.
That orange gives it a little picked up color to it for sure. It's definitely got a little darker foliage to it. This one's giving me that 4 to 6 foot in 10 years as well. Again, great smells to it. The Rising Sun, it's a great name. It fits it perfectly for what this one is. It's going to be an early spring pollinator that's going to go out there and give you some dramatic color contrast. I love even just with the Earl Somerville collection, how much you can contrast the colors of the blooms here.
Yeah.
Because each of these would kind of play off each other a little bit. So you can get your yellows, but you can also get your deeper oranges, and those really pick up the pinks and fuchsias and apricots and just really blend those colors to well. I mean, I don't know where to stop with these because when I find something I like, I kind of just keep going. So this is one I definitely got to get in the landscape.
Earl Somerville did a great job with selecting a lot of these for really selecting traits that are different. And that's what I love about a lot of his selections. Is every one of his selection is very different and unique. This one is a rhododendron austrainum. And from what I've been told by the experts in azaleas, is that adds vigor, and it also means that it's a variety that's going to get established well in the landscape. And so this is a great one for most gardeners who want to put a native flame azalea, that mountain azalea, out in their garden and really give them some of that yellow to orangish colors.
Now we list these as zones 5B through 6. Really anybody zone 5B through 9. Any of these are going to work really well 6 through 9. So if you're in that 6, I think you're well within the cutoff there. 6 through 9, they're really going to thrive for you. We've got a lot of areas though here in Western North Carolina that are easily zone 5.
Yeah.
Where these are thriving natively for sure.
And where they're thriving natively is up on mountaintops. They've got good drainage and organic matter where they're planted. And that's how you want to plant native azaleas. Good drainage, and make sure they get plenty of organic matter when you're planting them. That's really how they get established, and they really perform well for you out there in the landscape and garden. So next up we have a azalea I love because of its really just tricolor effect it's got going on. It's Walter Liggin.
So I love this color on this one. It's a very unique plant. This one's gonna have that pink to apricot kind of color. It's really more of a picked up pink, but you get a white splotch in there with a yellow splotch on that. It just really gives it something extra. That color is really picked up in the garden. It makes a great complement to some of the yellows because it just stands out so much as a native azalea. And I think it's one you're definitely going to want to add to your garden.
The blooms are just so showy with that tricolor effect. I mean, you don't get a lot of native azaleas with different colors in the blooms themselves. And Walter Liggin does that, and does that in a great way with that baby pink, that picked up pink you talked about, that white splotch with that yellow in there. Just those trusses together just gives such a plethora of colors that it makes something special and unique about this plant.
I love this one. This is one that Earl Somerville named after a friend in the Azalea Society, just honoring his friend there by naming it after him. It's another one that's going to be in that 6 foot and 10 years kind of height by about 4 foot wide. So an excellent grower. Again, late day shade will give you your best colors on these, but an excellent native azalea. And again, another early pollinator in that spring garden.
Yeah, I love that one quite a bit. Next up is one of my favorites.
Yeah, I was gonna beat you to it. I think this one might be my favorite of the whole category.
And it's not in bloom yet, but we wanted to talk about it because it's so amazing. We're talking about rhododendron or azalea, native azalea orange carpet.
Yeah, this might be my favorite of the whole group. This is a true dwarf. It makes it something excellently unique. I mean, this one's fantastic for its shape. I don't think it's really, people have understood why this one's so special yet. As it gets out there, it's not common enough to be known, I think. This one's 2 foot by 4 foot in 10 years, so a small, compact habit to it. It's going to be very low. That orange carpet is the perfect name for it. We'll throw some photos into the blooms here, but an excellent native azalea with a very unique habit. As soon as I tell people about what this one's going to do with that smaller overall shape, they get so excited about it.
So this is believed to be a hybrid between rhododendron calendaceum, which is that native flame mountain azalea that gives you those bright orange colors, and then hybridized with the Oconee azalea, rhododendron flammeum. And that may explain a little bit of the dense compact habit, but this one just has that sort of creeping habit across that gives us something very unique, very different. I've never seen anything with that orange bloom that's so amazing that then has that creeping habit on a native azalea.
Everybody I've told this one about this one, like what its actual shape is, they get so excited. Plant collectors are like, okay, I'm gonna need that one. And it's one that's an instant add to cart when you find out what it actually is doing. You know, orange carpet kind of sounds like some 70s stuff. I think Grandma had some orange carpet. So you might not want orange carpet in your house, orange carpet in your garden. You're going to want that. This thing is incredible for the shape.
Well, this was found in the 60s, probably about the time that was like the fad.
Might have been the cool thing then.
It was found as growing in the wild at a lake. And so excellent native selection that happened naturally out there in the wild down in Georgia at a lake. And found by Earl Somerville, introduced. And it's just one of those plants that just rounds out this collection of something very unique, something very different, and gives you some great orange blooms on that.
It's honestly, I'm not gonna lie, it's probably my favorite of the set. Now I think all these are really exciting and interesting, but because of that rarity of the shape, I think that's what makes it, you know, a little something extra to me.
And everything you love about a native, but you get a spreading out native azalea with some bright orange blooms.
Yeah, very, very cool. So we've hit you here today with 5 different native azaleas, some very unique ones in the landscape.
All from the Earl Somerville collection.
Yeah, all from the Earl Somerville collection. We realized very quickly we were going that direction, so we decided to keep it all in-house there with Earl Somerville and keep them all some of his selections. We'll be talking more about some more native azaleas and some evergreen azaleas. I said in my evergreen azalea, we had told a story about the samurai, and I wanted to get a samurai sword. So with the native azaleas and thinking mountains of North Carolina, maybe I should get some moonshine with these. I don't know. It kind of makes me think of that. But we hope you enjoy looking at some native azaleas and just broadening your horizons maybe a little bit with gardening into some new plants. These are things that we've kind of got excited about. We've kind of spread ourselves out a little bit and said, hey, let's step outside of our comfort zone. Let's learn some more about some different types of plants. And they've really got us fired up about gardening and really excited. So we hope to continue to share that with you. And kind of our journey into more plants besides Japanese maples, right? We got into conifers, we got into ginkgos, and then it just kept growing from there. And I think native azaleas are one that we're going to really put our efforts into continuing to offer these and make sure that they're plants that are out there available commercially.
If you like native azaleas, make sure you sign up for our weekly emails. We add 10 flowering plants every Friday at 10 a.m. When you sign up for our weekly emails on MrMaple.com, you're signed up for our Fun Flower Friday email. And that's when we're often listing more and more native azaleas, hybrids coming on. So if you like native azaleas, like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also sign up for our weekly emails.
Hey, God bless.
And have a great day.